So, good afternoon to all of you, and thank you so much for joining us here today. My name is Carrie Norbeck. I'm the Regional Coordinator for the Cancer Disparities Research Network, also known as Region 5 of the Center to Reduce Cancer Health Disparities GMAP program. On behalf of our Program Director, Linda Fleischer, and myself, we want to welcome you to today's webinar and thank Dr. Okuyemi so much for joining us here today. So our presenter today is Dr. Kola Okuyemi of the University of Minnesota. Dr. Okuyemi is currently a professor in the Department of Family Medicine and Community Health, as well as the director of their program in health disparities research. Dr. Okuyemi has devoted his career to improving the health of minorities and limiting health disparities using pharmacological and culturally tailored behavioral interventions. He has received funding for research and educational programs from NIH and private foundations totaling $28 million, and has mentored a large number of faculty, postdoctoral fellows, and graduate and undergraduate students. As director of the Medical School Program in Health Disparities Research, he leads a dynamic interdisciplinary team of more than 25 junior, mid-career, and senior health disparities research scientists. We are excited to have him here today to talk with us about the National Research Mentoring Network. So during today's webinar, I do have all the participants on mute, but if you do have a question, please either type it into the question box or just click that little hand icon by your name, and I will hopefully see that. And we'll have an opportunity later at the end of the webinar to field some questions. So today's webinar is being recorded, and it will be made available on the CDRN website, which is www.cdrn.org, after the presentation. And so with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Okuyemi. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Carrie. So do I have control, or would you be advancing the slides?
I will be advancing the slides for you. Sorry about that.
Okay. Oh, no, that will work too. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Carrie and CDRN, for inviting me to give this webinar on a new and exciting initiative from NIH that we call NRMN, or the National Research Mentoring Network. So, you know, from the first slide, the initiative actually was brought out of an analysis that NIH did, actually led by Dr. Ginter, Donna Ginter, several years ago, when she and her colleagues looked at more than 80,000 R01 applications. R01 are evidence of investigator independence. That is a sign that an investigator is has attained a level where they can lead their own research. So, if you like, is the epitome of NIH research projects. And what this clearly shows, as you can see from that from this graph, is that scientists from racial and minority groups are less likely than their white counterparts to receive R01 research grants from NIH. More specifically, actually, faculty or investigators who are African Americans. You can see here that it's about a twofold difference between African Americans and white investigators receiving NIH grants or NIH R01 grants. And this is, after you control for level of training, level of expertise, publications, and other things that you would expect objectively to affect the rate of success at getting this grant. So this obviously gave NIH some concerns that led to this program. Several people have their own explanations for this, but NIH is also looking at the review side, which is really what this analysis is about. and many of us think it's evidence of implicit bias, because after you control for every other thing, then there really shouldn't be any other factor other than the science and the quality of the application. But the mentoring aspect is also is the part that NIH wants to support and create a program that would better prepare scholars from underrepresented backgrounds. So we know, so it's based upon the premise that effective mentors can provide guidance to mentees regarding their career options, regarding opportunities within NIH and similar biomedical workforce, development of necessary experience and skills needed for a successful biomedical career. Next slide. Next slide, please. So the hypothesis that norming is that's what I will refer NRMN by norming. The hypothesis that norming is working by is that a comprehensive mentoring initiative can effect a change, through a number of mechanisms. One is by offering continuous training of mentors and mentees through workshops, online resources, and video training. Number two, through facilitation of long-term culturally responsive interactions. And when we say culturally responsive interactions, essentially we're saying that career mentoring has to take into consideration social cultural factors that impact the mentee, especially. For a long time, mentors in the scientific disciplines have made people to believe that effective mentoring has nothing to do with whether you're a man or a woman, whether you're African American, Latino, or Native American. But we do know that a number of these psychosocial, sociocultural, gender factors impact mentoring outcomes. And also, creating an effective algorithm, really a robust mentor-mentee matching process across career stages, and creating partnerships with diverse stakeholders from norming's vast consortium. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay. Now this. Yeah, thank you. So this, slide is only just to show a few among the several dozens, clearly more than 100 partners that norming is working with. So if you don't see organization here, don't get offended. I think we ran out of space, and also these were partners at the beginning, and but it's certainly grown to include several more than this. Next slide, please. So the overall goal of norming is, what NIH wants us to do is to change the face of biomedical workforce by increasing the number of individuals from traditionally underserved, that includes underrepresented minorities, for them to be able to successfully obtain NIH grants by directly addressing the benefits and challenges of diversity, culture and inclusivity within mentoring relationships, and then more broadly the research workforce. Next slide, please. Overall, although I'll be talking about this, the various, the 4 cores in NRMN shortly, but overall, NRMN is implemented in 4 core structure. The administrative core that oversees all of NRMN's activities, and the number 2, the mentorship and networking core, which develops the portal to support productive mentoring relationships. The mentor training core, which is attracting mentors from a variety of disciplines, biomedical specifically disciplines, and establish continuous training of best practices. And finally, the 4th core is the professional development core. So I'll talk about in detail about each of these 4 cores. So let's move on to the next slide. So that's this again is a core structure along with the various leaders. The administrative core is led by Dr. David Burgess, based in Boston College. David is also the lead PI for the entire enterprise. And the mentorship and networking core, the PI and director there is Dr. J.K. Vishwanathan from the University of North Texas Health Sciences Center. The mentor training core is led by Dr. Chris Fond at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And the professional development core is led by myself. And each of these cores are supported by associate directors. Next slide, please. So the thing to note about NRMN, again, because NRMN is one network that is meant to operate on a national platform. The approach that we are taking is to build capacity, for all these activities, working through 5 regional hubs. And I'm hoping that you can see this the hub figure, on your right, on the right lower segment of your slide. The map of the U.S. is showing in 5 different colors for the 5 different hubs. So we do have the West and the Great Plains hub, the Midwest hub, the South, the Northeast, and the Southeast and Deep South hubs. And the wheel that you see is on that right lower figure is to just blow up one of the hubs as an example, the Midwest hub as an example, and then the goal is for every institution that is associated with NRMN to be organized around a hub. That way NRMN goes to where the people are, and everything is not centralized in any just single institution. Next slide, please. So to say a few more things about the administrative core, next slide. So there are 3 aims that the administrative core is pursuing. One, is to establish and oversee the organizational governance, physical responsibilities and committee structures of NRMN. Number 2 is to ensure successful implementation of pilot and full projects. I think I'll talk about that I think in the next slide. In addition to or as part of the funding that NRMN received, we will be giving out supplement awards and also pilot awards. These are 2 separate mechanisms which I'll talk about shortly. And the third, aim for the admin core is to, oversee the data collection data sharing and dissemination, evaluation, and human subject activities. Next slide. Yeah, so to say a few more things about the grant project within NRMN. So essentially there are two main grant programming that NRMN is overseeing, and one is the pilot projects, which will be implemented in year 2. Each of the pilot projects will be about $25,000 to $50,000 dollars per year, and they'll be awarded for 1 to 2 years. And the pilot projects are open to everyone, to everyone really. The second mechanism, which it actually has a bigger funding range, we called that supplement, which was additional funding that NIH gave to NRMN, specifically to expand the partnership involved in NRMN. And this is more or less a limited competition. So this is open to institutions or groups that applied for NRMN but didn't receive it, or that are part of the current NRMN award, meaning the groups that were awarded NRMN right now. So all the organizations that were listed in that application, in our application, of course, NIH is going by the original application submitted. So all those organizations should have received the RFA that went out sometime in February. I think the reviews are about being completed, and the awards should be coming out sometime over the next week or so. And that program is being overseen by one of our associate directors, Dr. Chris Socknes, out in the University of Wisconsin at Madison. Next slide, please. So next, to move on to the mentorship and networking core. I'm going to try to move faster so that there could be time at the end for questions. Next slide, please. So this core has an overall. Maybe you can move on to the next slide so I can talk about the main aims. So the first aim of this of networking and mentorship core is to build and maintain a robust portal that we call NRMNet, for mentoring and networking, mentor-mentee matching, and professional development. So this will be the main access point for everyone to engage with NRMN. This portal is under development. It's going to launch very soon, probably within the next few weeks. Next slide. So the second aim of the networking core is to recruit diverse mentors across career stages, undergraduate, doctoral, postdoctoral, and junior faculty level. Next slide, yes. So the third aim is to provide opportunities for in-person networking and mentoring. So mentoring will happen, via long distance, online, but also, in person. Next slide, please. So the hope is that through the activities of the mentorship core and networking core, we will have a sustainable network of biomedical professionals from diverse disciplines and at various career stages, lasting changes in the American scientific workforce. Next slide, please. So this is a mock-up version. It looks more attractive than this. Actually, much nicer than this. You can access the website right now. it's partially functional. Actually, there are some things that are on there right now, but the mentor matching piece is yet to be launched. That's primarily because it needs to be populated by enough people registering as mentees and mentors before the matching can happen. Next slide, please. So we do have, a few desired characteristics of who can be a NRMN mentor. One, of course, the desire to be part of the NRMN community. So we're looking for mentors who have experience in mentoring students, postdocs, faculty from underserved backgrounds. Either they have the experience or they are willing to be trained to do that. People who have record of helping mentees develop their skills and career development, who are available and interested in online and face-to-face mentoring, and people who are knowledgeable, are willing to learn, who are open to improving their mentoring skills. And I will be taking the training myself because it's an area that we all need to continually seek to improve. So willingness to participate in formal training and acquire skills in effective coaching. And hopefully, this will be people who have received some awards, but not required in every case, and people who have success in receiving extramural funding. Again, is desirable. It's not a required qualification, and we're hoping that mentors will have support from their home institutions. Like many of you know that mentoring is a thankless job. It's something that everybody say is important, but nobody wants to pay for it. But at a minimum, we're looking for mentors who will be receive some recognition from their institution from participating in NRMN. Next slide, please. So we do have some desired characteristics for mentee too. So while we want to train people about how to be mentors, there needs to be awareness that there are some characteristics of good mentees. They need to be willing to be part of the community of nominate. They need to show some commitment to the biomedical research career. Need to have some positive perceptions about being a mentee in a larger network. Express desires, for resources that may inform and positively impact their decisions. They need to be available and they're willing to acquire new knowledge, and hopefully, receive support from their institution also. Next slide. So this next slide is to show that we are recruiting mentors and mentees from virtually everywhere. So this is not meant to be an exhaustive list or table. So these are just sources that we are aware of, either because they're already in partnership with us, or we know that they play important roles. But there may be others that we are not aware of that I'll be happy to take suggestions. Next slide, please. To move on to the mentor training core, which, like I said earlier, is led by Dr. Christopher Font at UW-Madison. Next slide. Next slide, please. So there are a number of goals in this their core. The first and foremost is this core is being developed to serve as a national training hub for mentors. Next slide. Number two is within this core is programming happening to refine aligned mentor and mentee standards, and as affiliated metrics needed for effective mentoring relationships. And there are a number of proposed standards that we know are important for effective mentoring relationships, including, the teaching of disciplinary research skills, maintaining effective communication, aligning mentor-mentee expectations. A good mentor-mentee relationship needs to foster the independence of the mentee, and not to have to perpetually be tied to the mentor. So a good relationship needs to promote the professional development of the mentee, and needs to be culturally responsive. Needs to promote self-advocacy, foster work-life integration, support what we call science identity, because that has been shown to maintain people's interest in the science disciplines. It needs to be able to reduce bias and stereotype trait, which we know have threatened the career success of mentees from diverse populations. And it also needs to enhance mentees' sense of belonging. Next slide. So the third aim of the mentor training core is to develop new and also enhance existing training interventions for both mentors and mentees. Next slide. The final aim for this core is to build a capacity for supporting cultural transformation in the way that mentoring is conceptualized and valued. Next slide, please. So the fourth and final core is a professional development core, which I lead, supported by Dr. Harlan Jones and Spiro Manson. Next slide. Move on to the next slide. Yeah. So we have three aims in the professional development core. The first is to provide mentees from diverse backgrounds with what we call intensive coaching in grantsmanship. So many of us are familiar with the model of 1/2 day or a full day, sometimes 2-day grant writing workshops, which are great, and they probably may work for some. I think they've worked much better in the past, but in the current atmosphere of very competitive and tight funding pay line, we have found that people need more. Although folks live excited out of those 2-day seminars or half-day seminar to write, but they soon realize that they need more than they have gotten out of the short term. So we are going to be engaging mentees in intensive long-term coaching relationships. Next slide, please. So the second aim, has to do with building capacity. Only a few institutions will be able to have a critical mass of faculty who have the knowledge and the skills to engage in this longitudinal intensive coaching. So in order to be able to make this widely available, we're going to build capacity, and the way you want to do that is through a coach in training program, or we call Institute for Advanced Coaching and Grantsmanship, whereby we can train more mentors who we call coaches because of for this specialized function, so that they can do that in other parts of the country, either their own institutions or other norming regions. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the third and final aim of the professional development core is to use a combination of in-person and novel technologies to provide mentees with a much broader range of professional development experiences. Whereas the first two aims dealt with grantsmanship specifically, because that's going to be the main outcome that NIH is going to use to measure impact in about 5 years. But we recognize that career success is more than just grant writing. So we are going to be providing a broader range of professional development, either webinars or seminars or workshops. One of the strengths of NRMN is the collaboration with several scientific professional organizations. So we're going to be doing workshops and seminars during some of their national meetings in collaboration with them, because people will go to these meetings anyways. So in addition to those conferences, there'll be webinars. There'll be attacking several topics. Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, I think I just lost. Okay, the screen is back. Yeah. Okay. How to develop your own lab. How to run a research project. How to run your first R01. How to deal with stereotype threat or microaggression, work-life balance, making effective presentations, and a wide range of both psychosocial and academic domains type topics. Next slide. So hopefully, again, this is not going to be one of those programs that NIH just funds and then we hope that something happens. There's going to be concrete impact that NIH will be looking for as an evidence of success. So we're hoping that what NRMN is doing will increase number and portion of underserved scientists at various levels who are submitting grants and receiving grants, who are publishing peer-reviewed journals, who have been promoted, attaining tenure in their institutions, who are participating in NIH grant review process, and who are also participating in peer review for scientific journals, and serving in research leader positions at their institutions. So all these are going to be monitored, by another award that NIH made as part of the Diversity Consortium is the CEC, the Coordination and Evaluation Center, which is based at the UCLA. So they're going to be collecting data over time, objectively, independent of NRMN, to be able to assess impact. Next slide. So I think I'll just spend a few minutes on this, on the various grant writing workshop types. Some of you, and I hope you received the email that announced this workshop, because I believe they are closing tomorrow. So very briefly, so there are two main categories of the workshop types. There is two are meant for more experienced mentees, and two for less experienced mentees. Let me step back a little bit and say that in the first 5 years, our grant writing programs are going to focus on postdoctoral fellows and junior faculty. Again, that's because NIH is looking for evidence of early success for people who will receive NIH grants, and those are the groups that would feel that within 5 years they can have those kinds of outcomes. So that's why this is you're not going to find anything in this one talking about proposal writing for undergraduates or doctoral students. So naturally, faculty and postdocs have a broad range of experience and level of readiness for writing grants. There are those who have never written grants who want to learn about it, and there are those who have written grants, have not been funded, or need to resubmit grants, or are planning to submit grants in the next few months, who have some advanced skills in that area. So we got something for everybody. The one for experienced mentees, like I said, we have two of those programs. One is based at Northwestern University in Chicago. The second is based here in Minnesota, University of Minnesota. For the ones for less experienced mentees, this is where most postdocs will fit into. So there are two workshop types for those. One is at the University of Colorado, and the second is at University of North Texas. Now, as you can see from this figure, these are longitudinal engagements, not just one-time thing. So all of them are going to have some form of kickoff, either 1 or 2 days or a weekend, that will bring everyone to the campus, to their campus. There may be some variation in that. Some may want to do their kickoff long distance, and then bring folks on campus as needed later. So all of them have some form of online long distance groups, electronic meetings, email and phone, and at the intervals, vary widely. Some will be weekly, some every 2 weeks. All of them will have at some point towards the end a mock study section, and that the expectation is that everyone that goes through each of these programs will submit a grant. The timeline will be different, for all of these. For example, for the more experienced mentees, those programs generally run about 2 to 3 months. Whereas for the less experienced mentees, they could run up from anywhere from 12 months to 15 months. So that here there's something for everybody. Next slide, please. So these last two sets of slides are, my version of just based on what I know about CDRN. It's not meant to be exhaustive. So I'm, looking forward to, more ideas to expand these last two slides. So we're saying, what can NRMN offer CDRN? Number one is mentoring and networking for mentees at various levels. Participation of CDRN faculty as mentors, opportunities, for near peer and peer mentoring, opportunities for CDRN network mentors to be trained as NRMN master mentors, for CDRN mentors to be trained as trainers, so that they can also be delivering mentor training in various areas of the country. Grantsmanship and grants writing opportunities targeted to postdocs and faculty, junior faculty, opportunities for established CDRN faculty to participate as coaches in those workshops I talked about earlier on. CDRN institutions or groups could decide. I think I lost my okay, it's back again. My screen. So CDRN faculty or institutions could approach us to host either grant writing workshops or trainer workshops. Of course, NRMN will provide some funding for this to happen, because, like I said earlier, the goal is to disseminate widely and and to build capacity so that everyone doesn't have to come to one one single central national place to get this experience. Next slide. And so what, again, this is a shorter list. I'm hoping to get more ideas. A shorter list than the earlier one. How can CDRN assist NRMN? Would like support in enrollment of mentees on the NRMNet portal. Enrollment, CDRN can help us by promoting enrollment and encouraging enrollment of mentors also. Encouraging faculty affiliated with CDRN to engage in the to take part in the mentoring training workshops for CDRN faculty to volunteer to become master to be trained as master mentors. CDRN could host networking, mentoring, and professional development workshops to publish and support participation of postdocs and junior faculty on your website to publish best practices on your website. Next slide, please.
I think this is our last slide.
Okay, yeah, well, I think I sort of ran through that. I wanted to be sure that there's a few minutes at the end, for questions or comments. Thanks for listening.
Oh, this has been so great and so informative, and I see a lot of potential for collaboration. We communicate with a lot of the different folks that are currently involved in the CURE program, both our region and all the other GMAP regions across the country. So there's a great way that we can work together to come up with some ideas for the future. So thank you very much for sharing all of this. If anyone has any questions, why don't you go ahead and either write it in the question box, or you can raise your little hand on your attendee list, and I'd be happy to unmute you and allow you to chat. Okay, we have someone who has a question about being interested in being a mentee and wanting to know sort of what's the acceptance rate or maybe the process for getting involved in that.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. So the place to begin is to register on the portal, which is NRMNet.net, or if you put .com there, it takes you to the same place. NRMNet, that's NRMNET, just one N. NRMNET.net or .com, and register there. Mentee participation could be at a number of levels. Some mentees could decide to participate in the grant writing workshops, which, like I said, is closing tomorrow, and I hope you've gotten. If you haven't, let me know. I can send it to you after we are done, so you can still put in your application. And but if for mentees who are not ready for or not really interested in grant writing but want a more general career mentoring, once you register, then there will be a mentor matching process that will happen, and then you will. The way that will work is, after you enter your profile, you will be sent a number, either 2 or 3 mentors that match your profile, and then for you to decide, which of them you want to engage with. I hope that answers that question.
Let's see, I can. She says, yes, it does. Thank you. I was going to go over and unmute to allow her to go, but that answered great. So thank you. They have another question is about approximately how many pilot and full projects will be funded, and what were you looking for in those?
Well, that's also another good question. The pilot we're looking to fund approximately the 4 to 6 pilots. The full projects, I believe we're looking to fund up to 4 to 6 as well. Again, depending on how much money everybody's asking for. Yeah, so so we're looking for ideas that are not that will complement what we're already doing. For example, NRMN right now is heavy in the later part of career development. Most of our initiatives are geared towards junior faculty and postdocs, and we have less robust programming for undergraduates and doctoral students. So I don't know if that helps. That so we'll be looking for ideas and proposals that might be targeting those career levels. We also looking for multi-institution, multi-organization, because being a national network, we're interested in proposals that cross across institutions and regions, and really innovative ideas, thinking out of the box. That it's not anything that we are doing right now that can, rather than duplicating or creating a redundancy with what we are doing. And the focus may change every year. Again, what I've just said is for this year, and and that process is underway already, and the applications are closed, and the awards will be announced, probably within the next week or so.
So this is Carrie. Just to clarify, so you're going to be funding 4 to 6 of both of those. Are those like 1 or 2 year programs, and you're going to be offering a call for pilots again next year, or is this?
Yeah. So those will be 1 or 2 year programs.
Okay.
Right. And so depending on whether we receive more of 1 year programs or 2 year programs, will determine whether we fund 1 or 2 next year, or whether we skip a year and do another RFA in year 3. The pilot projects are likely to be every year, but again, it also depends on whether folks are all coming in with 2 year projects.
Okay, great. That makes sense. Were there any other questions? Oop, just got a long one that was typed in. Let me go ahead and read this comment, and then I can unmute, and perhaps if you want to elaborate any further. So it says, it would be great if the network included an opportunity for mentees to find mentors, especially for those career development awards, and also provide some rubrics about career development grants to give to institutions. Finding a senior funded mentor in my field and in my area of research has resulted in a scavenger hunt, and because my institution does not have an organized center to support preparations of career development awards, I'm sort of being ping-ponged from one location to another to find information how to sign up for courses or enroll in course training programs that will satisfy the training portion of the program. So that was the comment.
Yeah, that question is addressing one of the reasons for which NRMN is existing. Because those resources and availability of mentors is not evenly distributed. Some institutions have no problems having mentors for their KO1 or K23 or KO8 awards. They have no problem with courses that candidates will for. But there are other institutions where you are depending on your discipline. You may even not even have a mentor, be able to find someone, and that can count against you. When you don't have a good plan to relate or to engage mentors who are outside of your institution. So the NRMN website, the portal, will be able to match you or anybody in this particular case with a mentor who has expertise in your field. So what to do is when you're going in to register, include in your profile, the profile questions will be asking you your discipline. What are you looking for in a mentor? So you put all those things there, because that will be part of, it's like match.com, for biomedical science. And then they'll provide you with a short list of mentors who can do that. If you're looking for a mentor, to be someone to be a mentor on your K award, indicate that there, and would one of the beauty of NRMN is we have extensive partnership with a broad range of scientific disciplines, professional organizations. Like I said, numbering more than 100. So I think you have a good chance that you'll find someone, whether it's cancer biology or genetic, morphology, or any way to community-based participatory research, or implementation science. So that is why this needs to be a national platform type network. And if for any reason, if everything fails, if you can directly contact the PIs. I mean, you can contact me, or contact the contact information on the website. Our goal is to be able to get you, so that to get you what you need, so you're not limited to what's available in your institution.
Great, thank you. I've got one final question here, and then after that, what I'll request is, Dr. Okuyemi, if you could just send me the information about applying for those grant workshops, and that way, if anybody wants it, you feel free to contact me, and I can get that out to you. And then beyond that, since we're about 2 minutes to the hour, we'll close things up. But the final question here is talking about, they just reinstated the CURE program at Columbia University's Cancer Center, and curious about how you schedule trainings for mentors. Like if you wanted to do a group training there, what that process would be.
If you want to, schedule training for mentors, I would say contact Chris Fund in UW Madison, or if you contact me, I can get you her contact. I can forward your email to her, and they are interested in institutions or programs that want to host mentor training workshops.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, so it sounds like folks can definitely contact Dr. Okuyemi directly, or feel free to contact me, and we can liaison between those things too. And we will be getting this webinar and other NRMN-related resources up on our CDRN website as well in the future. So again, thank you all so much for participating today and for your great questions. And thank you again, Dr. Okuyemi, for providing this presentation and for doing the great work of creating this resource. Seems like
my pleasure.
What we need. All right. Well, thank you. I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your day. And we will be in touch via GMAP and NRMN in the future.
Bye-bye.
Bye.